Good morning, everyone. Today is the 7th of Iyar. Let's start with counting the Omer. Bottom line of page 137. Together, Hayoim, Shnayim, Ve'esrim, Yoim, Shehem, Shloisha, Shavuos, V'yoim, Echad, La'omer. Today is 22 days, which is 3 weeks and 1 day of the Omer. Okay, Larry, you ready? We're on page 115. We're starting a new chapter in Tanya, Perek Mem Hey, chapter 45. And the Alter Rebbe is further trying to allow us to understand how to have somewhat of a relationship as far as from a love perspective is concerned with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Today's lesson, he teaches us how to arouse compassion for the divine spark, the neshama which is inside of you. This spark has descended from being part of Hashem and has come down into this physical world. It's sad because it's dragged through the mud down here. Consider too that this spark has to reside within our imperfect selves. In previous chapters, Alter Rebbe explains how a Jew can perform Torah and mitzvahs within his heart with love and fear of Hashem. And when a Jew is motivated by love and by a desire to cleave to Hashem, to his Torah and to his mitzvahs, his Torah and his mitzvahs will then surely be lishma. If you want to connect to Hashem, then when you learn Torah and do mitzvahs, you're going to do it for the sake of connecting to Hashem, and that's it, no ulterior motive. Meaning with the most purely focused intentions. This in turn will add vitality to his endeavors. It's also possible, as explained in previous chapters, that a person's love for Hashem is such that he's motivated in his Torah and his mitzvahs by the desire to cause nachas. You want to give nachas to Hashem. Just as a son strives to do all he possibly can for his father, so that his father may derive pleasure from his actions. So that's what we discussed in the last chapter. Love and fear of Hashem stems from the true attributes of chesed, kindness, that would be love, and severity, gevura. Now, in Tanya, page 115, in your Chayenu, there's another direct path for a person to be able to learn Torah and perform mitzvahs that are lishma, for the sake of doing the mitzvah to connect to Hashem with the innermost feelings of the heart and soul. We're going to now focus on the attribute of Yaakov, Jacob, our forefather, and this being his attribute of Rachmanim, mercy. This is accomplished by arousing in your mind, meaning before you do learn Torah and do the mitzvah, you have great compassion for Hashem. What's the compassion for Hashem? The Hashem inside of you. Al nitzot halikus amachaya nafshay asher yarad mimkoirei chaye hachayim ensof baruch hu. That divine spark which is inside of you is Hashem. And the divine spark used to be up in heaven in a beautiful place, Gan Eden, it's gorgeous, everything's wonderful. And it was sent down into this dark world where there's all sorts of confusion, jealousy, anger, hurt, anti-Semitism, all this stuff that we have to deal with, and things that we don't have to deal with, that we don't even know about, how painful people go through such painful times and difficult situations. Why does the neshama, and even more so, the body acts as an exile for the neshama. If somebody has to run away and hide because they're being sought after, to be kidnapped, to be taken hostage, whatever it is, and he ends up going to a place far away from his family and friends, might be, livable there, but it's so lonely and it's so dark and it's so, he doesn't have anybody he knows. That's like the body where the neshama has to go to. It goes away from its perch above his home and down into this world, into a body that has all these difficult, negative experiences in this world. Okay, so you have to have rachmanis on the godly soul inside of you. That divine spark which animates his divine soul, which has descended from its source, from Hashem. The place where it comes from is next to God, who pervades, is part of all the worlds, and encompasses all the worlds. Comparison to Hashem, everything is absolutely nothing. This then is the exalted level from which the soul has descended, a place that was limitless and infinite and light and beautiful, and now it comes down into this world. This lavish, it's been clothed in the body which is called a serpent's skin. A snake, the body's a snake. It's very deceiving. It slithers around. So the body is referred to as a skin since it serves as the garment of the soul. As the pasuk says, you have garment with the skin and flesh. This is moreover the skin of a snake. Why does it say snake? Could have just said the skin of whatever. Since the body in its unrefined state is loathsome, like a snake, the divine spark must enter into such a body. So when it comes into this serpent's skin, it's far removed from the light of the king's countenance, at the greatest possible distance, far away from the king. This world is the most coarse and the most diluted, if you will, as far as spirituality is concerned. Yes, we may have Torah, mitzvahs, and spirituality, but as far as the worlds are concerned and distance from Hashem, the true spiritual light, it's the farthest. And especially when a person will feel great compassion for his soul when he recalls all his actions and the words that he says and the thoughts that he was thinking since the day he came into being. If you think about the last few days and weeks, you can go back years and years and years, all the negative things you said, you thought, you did. This is where your neshama has to be schlepped through. Your neshama experiences that along with you. And that's sad. It's like, it's not fair for him. But that's it. That's what's happening. Melech asur barhatim virhite moicha. The king of the world is thereby fettered by the tresses, meaning by the impetus thoughts of the brain. Hashem is, so to speak, fettered by these impetus thoughts. Yaakov chavanachlosa. Yaakov, an appellation for the Jewish people, is the robe of his inheritance. So what does this mean? The word chevel usually is translated as lot, like a plot of land. And here it's interpreted by an alternative meaning, a rope. When a rope has one end tied above, tugging at the lower end is going to draw the upper end down as well. So you might think, whatever I do, it's just me. I'm an individual. I'm not bothering anybody. In fact, nobody even sees. But Hashem is affected when you think. You can say if you do something, if you throw snow into the street, so it might bother other cars. If you say words, you think it's no big deal. You can get people fired. You can hurt people's feelings. You can destroy things with words, right? Countries go to war because of words. But thoughts, who cares about thoughts? Nobody knows what I'm thinking right now. I don't know what you're thinking right now, but Hashem knows. And if you're thinking evil thoughts, you're dragging Hashem down. Hashem is part of that rope. He's on the top of the rope, and you're down here, and you give a little schlep. Oy! So every time you schlep on that rope, you're pulling Hashem, you're dragging him down into the mud with you, into those evil thoughts. So the upper extremity of a Jew's soul is likewise bound to its source, Hashem. And when the lower part of the soul is dragged into spiritual galus with wrongful action, speech, or thought, it has an effect on the upper reaches of the soul, which are bound above. As in the above illustration of one pulling a rope, and so forth. This is the esoteric doctrine of the exile of the Shekhinah. Jew causes his soul to be in galus within the same domain of the Klippa, and this in turn, so to speak, exiles the Shekhinah. Of course, Hashem doesn't change. Hashem's not affected by anything we do. But in theory, based on what we're saying here, that since the neshama is a part of Hashem, and your neshama is connected above, so when you do something wrong, even if it's a thought, nobody else on the face of the earth knows what you're thinking. But if it's a negative, dark thought about angry, jealousy, bitterness, whatever the case may be, resentment, you're tugging on Hashem, dragging him along with you. And concerning this matter, that the pity is all the greater, since even the soul source is in exile. It's written, and let him return to Hashem and have mercy on Hashem. So what are you doing to Hashem? It's one thing if you're having a bad day, but why do you have to drag Hashem along with you? Put a smile on, think good thoughts, and leave the negativity behind. Easier said than done, right? But when you come at it from all these angles, that I was giving us some tactics and tools of how to stay connected in a positive way to Hashem. You could arouse compassion towards Hashem, who dwells with us. Al Shem Hashem Hashechen Itanu. Even when we're in the midst of our uncleanliness, Hashem is always with us. So of course, Hashem is always with us, but we should try to conjure up that feeling of rachamim, of mercy for Hashem, like its namesake for like Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu was known for Rachmanus, Tiferes, beauty, Rachmanus. So we're going to try to tap into the Yaakov in us, the contemplation to develop mercy upon your soul. Stop. We think my neshama is spiritual and lofty. Its natural habitat is to bask in the glory of Hashem, and here it came down into my body, and my actions are schlepping it into a dark place. What a shame. What a pity. So all we have to do, easier said than done, is stop. Think holy thoughts, think positive thoughts, say kind words, say holy words, say words of davening, words of Torah. And of course, our actions should be involved in giving tzedakah and doing good deeds. Have a wonderful Shabbos and a wonderful day, Chavra.